A very warm welcome to the Global TVET Forum 2025 here in Berlin. It's really a pleasure to see all of you in the room here, finally, to see our online participants who are also joining us from around the world after all these months of preparations. It's really a pleasure. I want to thank our partners, especially the Federal Ministry for Education, for making this gathering possible. As you might be aware, last Friday marked the 80th birthday of the Charter of the United Nations, in case you heard about that. And I want to take the opportunity to express my sincere appreciation of opening a global forum almost on this day, in a time where multilateralism is challenged by ever more nationalist, protectionist tendencies in international collaboration and in international relations. I feel very honored and privileged to work in a space where our partners and our stakeholders value international collaboration and alignment and support a joint development towards a more sustainable future. Zooming in on our gathering these 3 days here in Berlin, 2025 marks the halfway of the UNESCO strategy for TVET, and also just a few years to go on the Agenda 2030, with still a lot of work ahead of us and a lot of things to do to meet the targets. We are witnessing a time of pivotal change, technologically, demographically, climate-driven, that requires agile, flexible, and inclusive TVET systems. Over the next 3 days, we will strengthen multilateral collaboration, we will showcase innovation, and of course, launch the initiative towards a global TVET agenda, which you will learn a lot about throughout the course of this day. A very brief logistical note. As I mentioned already, we are streaming the sessions from the plenary, so I kindly ask our speakers to stick to the time and to always speak into a microphone. Also, if we do Q&A from the audience, that you use a microphone so online participants can hear us. And I ask the online participants to use the Q&A function in Zoom. We have chat moderators here who are ready to convey selected questions to the speakers here in the room. And lastly, we do have interpretation into French for the online participants, and you can click on the globe icon in Zoom to access the French channel. And with this, I would like to invite the head of UNESCO-UNEVOC, Friedrich Huebler, to the floor to deliver his welcome remarks.
Thank you, Natalie. Good morning, Ms. Hannken, Ms. Geleng, Mr. Chakroun, distinguished guests. Dear partners and participants, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to the Global TVET Forum 2025 in Berlin. This forum is a flagship event of UNESCO-UNEVOC. It's organized every 2 years, and this year in collaboration with the German Federal Ministry for Education, Family Affairs, Senior Citizens, Women and Youth, and with the support of BIBB, ETF, ILO, and OECD. It is fitting that this event is held in Berlin, where UNESCO organized the first international congress on the development of technical and vocational education in 1987, and where the UNEVOC network began operating in 1993. Seeing so many of you here in person and so many joining us online from around the world is a testimony to the vitality of the global TVET community. In this room and online are representatives of ministries and other government agencies, national regulatory bodies, international and regional organizations, universities and research institutions, business, crafts and industry associations, and others active in the field of TVET. I want to acknowledge especially the participants from the UNEVOC network and beyond who traveled far from Africa, the Americas and Asia to join us here in Berlin today. Each of you brings unique experiences and perspectives to the table, and this combination gives our forum its energy and potential. We are meeting at a time of a rapid transformation. New technologies are reshaping how we learn, work, and live. Climate change, demographic shifts, and geopolitical tensions are redefining what societies and economies demand from their education systems. These global shifts test not only our systems, they test our resolve. They remind us why the work of the United Nations remains indispensable, and why the principles on which it was founded 80 years ago are the compass we still need to navigate an uncertain world. The role of TVET has never been clearer. When people are equipped with the skills they need, societies flourish, economies prosper, and opportunities expand for all. High quality, inclusive TVET lies at the heart of sustainable development. With less than 5 years to deliver on the Sustainable Development Goals, it is the right moment to reflect on what has been achieved and to look ahead with renewed determination. Against this backdrop, the Ministry of Education is partnering with BIBB, ETF, ILO, OECD, and UNESCO-UNEVOC to launch the initiative towards a global TVET agenda. Funded by the ministry, this initiative will help align efforts across sectors and regions, scale up innovation, make better use of data, strengthen excellence, and support policy reforms. UNESCO-UNEVOC's contribution to the initiative is the project Innovation and Excellence in TVET, aimed at the development of better TVET systems that address the needs of individuals, economies, and societies. Many of our activities are conducted through the UNEVOC network, the backbone of our efforts to strengthen TVET systems and promote excellence worldwide. Over the next 3 days, you will hear from TVET experts and practitioners, gain insights from interactive panels that include the youth perspective, engage in breakout sessions focused on innovation and data-driven policy, and visit German institutions that are implementing forward-looking TVET programs. The UNEVOC network and initiatives such as Towards the Global TVET Agenda show what is possible when we embrace collaboration and offer mutual support to advance our shared goals. This forum provides the perfect setting to translate vision into practice and to launch this ambitious new agenda. As we start today's event, I encourage you to think boldly. How can TVET anticipate future skills needs? How can we make TVET a pathway of choice and excellence for all? And how can we build the partnerships needed to make that happen? It is more urgent than ever to address these questions for today's learners, many of whom are struggling to adapt to a world in transition. To conclude, I would like to thank the German Federal Ministry for Education, Family Affairs, Senior Citizens, Women and Youth for its continued commitment and financial support, and for providing this platform for us to come together, exchange ideas and take action. And I would like to thank all of you here in Berlin and online for participating in this dialogue. The conversations that we will have over the next 3 days are about real people, real skills, and real impact. Let us work towards building TVET institutions that are ready to meet the challenges ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Friedrich, for opening and framing this event. Before we move on, I want to make a few more logistical remarks or introductions. I would like to introduce our graphic recorders, Julian Kücklich and Gabriele Heinzel. They are capturing our discussions, our interventions visually, and will provide a nice summary of our conference in the end. I also want to point you to the poster exhibition, which you have surely seen already. There's also an online poster gallery for those of you who are joining us online. You can access the poster gallery on the website, and my colleague will post the link in the chat. And of course, I hope you enjoyed the photo exhibition, which displays the winners of the last few years of our Skills in Action photo competition. Lastly, I would like to invite you to select your group for the study visit on Thursday, already throughout the course of the day today. My colleague Kara, she's there in the back, she has some lists which she will put out later on, and you can put your name once in those lists. Yeah, don't sign up several times. And then she will give you a colored sticky dot on your badge so you remember on Thursday which group you signed up for, okay? Thanks a lot. Okay, so now I have the honor to invite Borhene Chakroun, Director of Policies and Lifelong Learning Systems at UNESCO, to the stage for his keynote address. Borhene.
Thank you, Natalie, and guten Morgen. Good morning, bonjour. It's my pleasure to be with you today. Dr. Hannken, der Catrin, der Oliver, Niels, also their colleagues from BIBB, Birgit, Michael, and other colleagues. Pleasure also to see Eliza, Ashwani, Manuela, Laurence as well, and all the honorable members of the UNESCO-UNEVOC centers, their colleagues, their representatives from different organizations. It's my pleasure to be with you today and to join my colleague Friedrich Huebler to welcome you to this Global TVET Forum. It's a very critical moment, very important moment for all of us, and I really wanted to be with you today and to join this discussion. UNESCO, through UNESCO-UNEVOC, is really honored to be part of this initiative and to be a knowledge partner leading the work on knowledge sharing and agenda setting. And this year's forum discussion will examine how international cooperation can make TVET systems more coherent and equitable, a path of excellence supporting learners and workers in a rapidly changing world. This topic is central. It is our shared commitment to inclusion, quality, and lifelong learning opportunities for all. So in a way, I would say, basic question is why a global TVET agenda matters today. I think first we are living through, and Natalie just mentioned that, through a historic moment of uncertainty and thus of opportunities for transformation. In any crisis there are opportunities, and I hope that we keep this perspective as well. Our world today is connected, disrupted, and in transition. The forces of digital disruption, climate change, and demographic shifts and global mobility are converging to reshape the world of learning, work, and more broadly, our life. Many data, in a way, corroborate this. The World Economic Forum indicates that skills gaps are considered by employers as the biggest barrier to business transformation, and that around 60% of the global workforce will need training by 2030. There are many predictions, and probably none of them, of these predictions, are certain. We are still but we are still certain that the labor market in 2030 will be much different than the labor market in 2025. And we already see changes. For example, the demand for green and sustainability-related skills have grown by over 60% since 2016 in economies such as renewable energy, environmental services. Artificial intelligence is impacting the world of work, requiring new skills, destroying jobs, but obviously creating new jobs. Interestingly, even computer science graduates today are facing difficulties in the labor market. That's the case, for example, in the US, where college graduates are having difficulties in entering the labor market. Computer science engineers, because companies consider that they can substitute them with AI at the entry level. So these are seismic changes that we need to take into account. The second why a TVET agenda and global TVET agenda matter is that it's related to this uncertainty. TVET seems to be, and from my point of view, the education sector that can help all education and training systems to navigate this uncertainty. Because of all the labor market analysis that we are conducting in TVET system and intelligence that we have through labor surveys, observatories. Because also it's an important place for workplace learning, and we are in Germany. The dual system apprenticeship and other form of internship are critical in getting as close as possible to the labor market. It is because of the partnership with the employers and private sector skills councils, other forms of collaboration that are in place, training funds where companies do contribute to skills development. Finally, because it is the sector that has taken the lifelong learning turn since decades through RPL, modular training, non-formal training, and more recently, micro-credential and other forms of certifications. So TVET is well placed to, in a way, be the engine of changes and the engine of coping with uncertainty for all education and training system. Maybe the last element that matters for a global VET agenda is about mobility. Mobility is a defining feature of the global education and labor market today. Just to give you some examples, since 2000, the number of internationally mobile students has more than tripled, and reaching in 2024, 7.3 million students. Labor mobility has followed a similar trend, yet one of the problems is that workers' qualifications are not always recognized. Recognition systems are not yet enough flexible and meeting those needs. While national qualification frameworks are strong, domestically, they are not always aligned across borders. Legal frameworks and mutual recognition agreements remain limited in number and scope. Recognition of non-formal and informal learning, micro-credential and other qualifications, for example, of displaced persons, remain uneven across the board. And quality assurance systems have not fully adapted to online hybrid learning modalities, non-formal, informal learning, connecting different learning settings, and recognizing these different learning modalities. So the risk is that we are excluding people from lifelong learning opportunities. And that's what a global agenda should drive, that multilateralism that help every individuals and meet the SDGs and SDG 4, even if today, in a multilateral context, we can see that some countries are withdrawing from SDGs. Some countries are challenging what we thought is something that is acceptable for us for many years. Gender equality since Beijing, equity and inclusion since 2015. We are in a situation where we have to stand globally together for this agenda. But for a TVET community, and I consider myself part of it, I think the question is, in advancing this agenda, we should learn from the past to eventually better write the future. And our quest for a global TVET agenda, in reality, is not new. Several moments have marked the path of affirming TVET as an important agenda. Already here...
There seems to be an issue. Now it's resolved.
No worries. Do you want to join me? Okay. Max, thank you for joining online. I was saying that we need to learn from the past. And if we don't learn from the past, we cannot write better the future. And already here in Berlin in 1987, we had the first Congress on TVET. It was the first ever global summit on technical and vocational education and training that set also the way for establishing the UNEVOC network. And since then, UNESCO organized two other congresses. The last one was in Shanghai in 2012, where we adopted the Shanghai Consensus. But while in the 2000, the MDGs didn't even think about technical and vocational education and training, in 2015, SDG 4 did give a specific target to vocational training. 4.3 on skills acquisition, 4.4 around outcomes, 4.5 around gender equality. So the agenda has taken that into consideration. In 2019, the ILO Centenary Declaration for the Future of Work defined skills and lifelong learning as central to the agenda. Myself, together with other colleagues, we co-authored the book in 2015 about the need for unleashing the potential of technical and vocational education and training. Our colleagues at OECD have adopted the skills strategy. When we think about the European Commission, and probably Manuela knows better than me, at that time the European Commission put a communication on rethinking education, investing in skills for better socioeconomic outcomes. More recently, together with the ILO and the World Bank, we gave some responses about how TVET can work, what are the potential for development. And we have seen that in many countries, there are pockets of success, pockets of very good, quality, excellent TVET. The problem is that these are contained in specific areas that don't get to a system level. And basically, TVET remains contained in a specific ways of thinking vocational training and in looking at vocational training as a path that is not necessarily the path of excellence. I think this is something that our global agenda will have to take into account. Another limitation that we see from a global perspective is the number of an enrollment in technical and vocational education and training. Today, globally, we have only 7% of students in technical and vocational education and training. The highest is in Central Asia and in Europe, 15 and 12%. The lowest, strangely enough, is in Southeast Asia and in Sub-Saharan Africa, where there is the most need for skills development. But probably one of the critical limitations that we have as an international community is how we define technical and vocational education and training and what skills we are speaking about. Probably we have focused only on formal, job-specific, and initial TVET, and neglected the lifelong learning perspective of it, and the life-wide nature of it, meaning learning in different settings. We missed the very nature of skills. First, we didn't recognize that skills are cumulative and lifelong. It starts with foundational skills we acquire in early years, such as literacy, numeracy, and socio-emotional competencies, which form in a way the backdrop for all future learning. And we know that many of our TVET students are lacking those foundational skills. And we don't give attention to that. We consider that they are ready to engage in vocational training. That's not the case. That's not the case. That's even not the case when we look at the PIAC's data, when we see even in OECD countries, a number of adult learners are not having the basic foundational skills. So we need to take into account that system perspective, and we need to think about not only job-specific skills, and we didn't think about them as I think we should do. We need to think about those transversal skills, such as critical thinking, problem-solving, creativity, growth mindsets, entrepreneurship. And something that is very important, I think, for all of us and obviously for UNESCO is citizenship, is participation in societies and being not only a worker, but being a good citizen. We have to prepare students, we have to prepare learners for that. And maybe what we didn't understand is also that the skills are not static, they evolve. The labor market changes very fast. And we have to align ourselves with those changes. A few years ago, we have conducted a study with CEDEFOP and ETF. We looked at how often the qualifications are renewed. And we found that it's between 5 and 7 years that the qualification is updated. Do you imagine today that somebody who gets the qualification in 2025 that was designed in 2018? There is no sense for it. And that will mean that TVET systems not only have to understand and cope with what is the today, but what is the future? And that's something that we will need to build together. We cannot develop it alone. No country can do this alone because of the interconnectedness, because of the mobility of workers, because of the technology development that we need to take. So this is something that is very important when we are speaking about the global agenda. Maybe problematically, I think this is something that continues to be an issue for all of us, is that in many countries, the public in general do not favor technical and vocational education and training. Not everywhere. But a significant number still regard TVET as a kind of second best or even a second chance or the last resort for their young people or for their children. And this negative perception is slowly changing, and thanks to WorldSkills, for example, with all the work that you are doing. But that's not sufficient. That's not sufficient. We need much more advocacy. We need much more bold. We need influencers that can speak about TVET. The awarding of the prize that UNEVOC is leading on the photo is one of them. The prize on TVET is one of them, but it's not sufficient. We need other people that can speak about TVET, not us, because us, we are converted. We all believe in TVET, but we need people who are outside of the room. And to reach them, it's not probably myself, and I don't want to speak about others, but it's not myself that can speak to these people. We need influencers. We need other people that can speak. We need young people who can speak to others. We need Shakira, name them, Leonardo DiCaprio and others who can speak to them. Whoever. But we need to speak to them. And I think we lost that battle of advocacy and communication. We lost it. And we need to win it. We need to win it. And that's the global TVET agenda that can take it forward. We need these champions, and we need champions at the political level, and I will come back to that in a few minutes. So looking ahead, while we learn from the past, we need to anticipate and I will say even shape the future. And that's what I think this global TVET agenda should do. We should elevate TVET agenda globally. We should elevate TVET agenda globally, and it's time for that. And let me very quickly, in a few minutes, say what I think is important in the global TVET agenda. Of course, these components that are already in the initiative are very important. The cooperation, the partnership for excellence, the knowledge sharing, the data, and regional TVET innovation are very important. But I think we need much more bolder agenda, and some of them intersect with those areas. First of all, we must recognize that the technical cooperation is not sufficient. We need a policy process that requires multilateral processes where countries and government are in the driving seat. This should be at the global level, in political spaces such as the UN, UNESCO, ILO, OECD, and other members and multilateral organizations. It is also about regional organizations such as the Union for Skills in Europe, or the TVET strategy in Africa. But we also need policy and advocacy champions, head of states that stand for TVET at the highest policy agenda. And this happens elsewhere. It doesn't happen in TVET. We need to make it happen in TVET. It happens, for example, for the School Meals Coalition, with the head of state of Finland, President Lula, are advising and advocating for the School Meal Coalition. It happens in the Health Workforce Initiative led by the head of state of France and South Africa. Last week in the G20 in South Africa, India, Brazil, and South Africa, the head of states have announced an initiative for foundational learning. We don't have on TVET such political ownership and elevating the TVET agenda to that political level, and we need to make it happen. Second, we need a common narrative. We must acknowledge that diversity of forums, networks, and spaces, and those opportunities have to align these in a way that we have a common narrative. I repeat, we need a common narrative. And that should happen through the different forum. We have today the Global Forum. In a few months, we have the OECD Skills Summit. Later on in Shanghai, we'll have the WorldSkills. We need to align the narrative so that our voice is convergent, that what we are saying in one place refer to the other places, that what we declare adopt as a declaration here is referenced in other spaces. Otherwise, it's a cacophony and nobody understands us. So we need that common narrative that can help us advance our agenda. The third, we must scale up and make more visible networks and interagency cooperation. Today, we have more than 40 UNEVOC centers in this room, and we have more than 200 members all over the world. This is a very important and a backbone of the international cooperation. But it's not the only one. We have an interagency group on TVET, and some of the members are sitting here. We have also the WorldSkills conference, and it's an important moment for us. But all this global forum, all these events have to align in a narrative so that we put and we advance the TVET agenda all together. Fourth, we can't improve and elevate what we cannot monitor and measure. It is time for us to be serious about monitoring and measuring TVET programs, their returns in terms of socioeconomic. There is an initiative, and thanks to the German colleagues who put data in it, we have a PISA-VET that will bring the first result by 2029. The WorldSkills competition, again, is something that brings also data with the Global Skill Tracker from UNEVOC. But all these initiatives have to also align so that we have a better picture about what is TVET today, how many students are enrolled in technical and vocational education and training, what is the outcome, where do they go, what returns can have, because that will be an important argument. We cannot defend something that is not measured. It's very hard to do it, and it's very hard to do it at the global level. The last point is about normative instrument and standard. This is very important. If we don't have common references, it's very hard to advance a global agenda. And this is about international normative instrument. Our colleagues at ILO have apprenticeship recommendation. We have a UNESCO recommendation. There are regional directives that are important. And we need them to be also a human right and a right-based perspective. We need what we call at UNESCO new social contract for education and skills. And this is something that has, from my point of view, an international dimension. But colleagues, TVET and what we speak about shouldn't be only about competitiveness of German, Malaysian, or South African enterprises. It has to be about human rights. The global VET agenda or TVET agenda has to stand for Afghan girls and women who are prevented from access to vocational education and training. We have to stand for pregnant girls in some African countries that are not allowed to access to vocational training. We have to stand for refugees in Gaza or in South Sudan. That's the global VET agenda. It cannot be only about competitiveness. We have to stand for human rights, and we have to stand for the right to technical and vocational education and training. So looking ahead, we should consider this agenda and place it within the 2030 and post-2030 agenda. There are some key milestones that I want to mention at the end of my speech. First, we have the second World Summit for Social Development in 2 weeks in Doha. I'm very happy to say that the declaration will have a strong emphasis on technical and vocational education and training, on lifelong learning as such. We will have the Global Education Meeting by end of 2026, which will probably shape the post-2030 agenda when it comes to education. We will have the third SDG Summit in 2027 that will eventually propose the new framework for sustainable development. We need to, in a way, think about those milestones and ensure that TVET is central into the discussion, and that what we are discussing as an internal global TVET community is also put forward in the broader agenda. And of course, I consider this is the role of an organization like UNESCO to ensure that TVET remains central to the agenda and elevated to the highest level. It's our duty, our responsibility, and time has came for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Borhene, for your inspiring words and the insights that you shared. I like how you always challenge us. 2 years ago in Bonn, you delivered your keynote and you challenged us to implement a global skills tracker and to create a global award for innovation in TVET. And now we are here, and we will have both of them in the next 2 days. So let's see if we have Shakira as an ambassador in 2 years. We'll see what we can do. Just a short mention, I think some of you were a bit irritated. We have interpretation in the room as well as into Spanish, so try to ignore the parallel mumbling that you might hear. I have the pleasure to invite Ms. Manuela Geleng to the stage. She's Director of Jobs and Skills at the European Commission and will share the EU's perspective on global vocational education and training. Please.
Good morning to you all, also from my side. Let me say, dear friends of vocational education and training, I think it's a real honor to be here with all of you today, because I think we all share a common purpose to strengthen and reimagine the role of vocational education and training in shaping the future of our societies and our economies. But let me start by thanking the organizers of this conference for placing vocational education and training at the top of the agenda of this week's forum. And I think at a time when the world of work is evolving faster than ever, the importance of TVET could not be greater, because it equips individuals with the skills, confidence, and adaptability needed to thrive. And it provides our industries and our communities with the talents that drive progress. So what I would like to do here is to set out a bit the EU context and where we intend to go, so provide an EU perspective. And so let me start by saying that in today's geopolitical context, investing in people and skills is not just an economic priority, it is a strategic one. And the EU's ambition is to remain competitive, but at the same time safeguarding our social model. And this is why earlier this year the European Commission launched an initiative that maybe some of you have heard about, which is the Union of Skills, which shows actually the strategic importance in tackling skills shortages and skills mismatches in Europe. Skills in the European Union are seen and are considered an enabler of European competitiveness. The strategy itself, the Union of Skills communication, covers 4 main areas, which is raising levels of basic skills, the importance of continuous upskilling and reskilling, but also looking at how make it easier for skills to move within the European Union, and also for the EU to be a global talent destination. At the heart of competitiveness and skills provision, vocational education and training features prominently in the EU. Why? Because most shortage occupations in the EU are professions requiring VET qualifications. For instance, let me give you a very practical examples. Out of the 7 occupations most in shortage, 6 are VET professions. So this gives you an idea of the labor market needs and gaps that we have in the EU. So the Union of Skills really wants to step up the ambition as regards the current initiative that we have, like the Centers of Vocational Excellence, and I will say a few words about them in a few minutes, and apprenticeships, but also announces new initiatives and actions like focusing on basic skills early on. I think previous speakers have really highlighted this already, and focus on STEM. In the area of VET, we have also announced a European strategy that will be coming forward in next year. So let me start with some recent steps that have been taken, and what best is to start with the Herning Declaration that was endorsed just 2 months ago in September by ministers of the European Union, candidate countries, and European Economic Area countries, and endorsed by social partners as well. And I think this declaration sets out very clearly what European cooperation on VET should be, focusing on VET, making it more attractive, focusing on VET excellences, but also cooperation between European and international organizations, many of whom are present in the room today. I think the EU is very much committed to work with partners across the world, whether they are in Asia, Africa, Latin America, or more closer to us in the Western Balkans. The idea is really to promote a human-centered and fair approach to skills. Skills are a new form of diplomacy because they build trust, create opportunity, and strengthen our ties. Let me bring two examples of the partnerships that we have already ongoing. I mentioned the Centers of Vocational Excellence. This is a new flagship that we run since 2019. It's funded by the Erasmus Plus programs and brings together international collaborative networks that contain VET institutions, social partners, public authorities, and research institutes, and have broad public-private partnerships. This creates skills ecosystems important for innovation, regional development, and social inclusion. And this initiative is open to candidate countries and neighboring countries of the EU, and also international organizations can be associated to the projects. And I think this makes it a springboard for concrete international cooperation. Another interesting initiative that we have been running for quite some years is the European Alliance of Apprenticeships. Here we are trying to create a better image, a more quality image of apprenticeships, as well as to promote the mobility of apprentices. We want to empower youth and adults through the acquisition and development of skills that are relevant for the labor market in a very practical work-based learning way, facilitating hence the transition between school to work. The Alliance today acts as a platform that groups 43 national public authorities, including Armenia, Georgia, Ukraine, Western Balkans, and is composed of more than 500 members, businesses, social partners, national and regional governments, chambers, VET providers, apprentice organization. Together, since its launch, it has offered over 3 million apprenticeships placement. Our work, I think, on apprentices also inspired the ILO recommendation in 23 on apprenticeships. I think a more recent example of the of cooperation working together was the 10th seminar for that we organized in Montenegro in just a few days ago, where 100 participants and from 29 countries came together to discuss high-quality apprenticeships and work-based learning. Today, at EU level, we already have mutual beneficial talent partnerships agreement between the EU and third countries to enhance labor mobility and skills development. The Global Gateway is the European Union strategy for investment globally with selected partners, countries and regions with the aim of narrowing the global investment gap. But let me come now to the strategy on vocational education and training that I mentioned early on. First of all, the strategy aims will be to connecting the dots. It will bring together our initiatives in a forward-looking and strategic approach to vocational education and training. It will set out how to make VET more attractive, excellent and inclusive, address the skills shortages, enhance quality, and foster innovation across Europe. In doing that, it will obviously work on, build on the work that member states have been doing since on the implementation of the VET recommendation that was adopted by countries in 2021 and the Herning Declaration that was just endorsed. The key message I think I would like to share with you today is that all the initiatives that I mentioned point to a growing demand of a deeper and stronger collaboration in VET, both within the EU and globally. In our relations with global partners, such as India, or when we have discussion in G7 or G20, we see increasingly mutual learning initiatives that are called upon And faced with this growing interest, and indeed the necessity, it is time to think more strategically about the way forward for international VET cooperation. And this is why also the European VET strategy will include a dedicated international dimension, looking at what we have already in place and setting the direction for what could be developed in the future. And I really count on you all to contribute to this development process, as the VET strategy will be probably come around mid next year. So we have time together to engage in a strategy that we all can support and will support afterwards. So I also would like to stress that this international strand of the strategy will help us steer the future investment priority under the next multi-annual financial framework, that is the next budget of the European Union for the next 7 years. And of course, we look at the European training foundations in helping us in implementing this international part. Now, on excellence, I think we are very happy to see that vocational excellence features high on the TVET, global TVET pilot project. It is a concept that reflects back on our flagship initiatives, which has inspired national excellence strategies and put the focus on the potential of VET. The potential of VET when it's done in partnerships with close links with the labor market and with close links to innovation. And it is really good to see that the pilot project you are launching today builds on the extensive experience of the European Training Foundation in spreading the word of vocational, excellence. And I'm confident that this project will contribute to an even stronger evidence base on vocational excellence. Also, other planned outputs of the project on global TVET data are welcome. Under the Union of Skills, we are working hard to develop a European Skills Intelligence Observatory, because we see skills intelligence as an important steering mechanism for competitiveness and investments in VET. And I'm sure that the products to be developed under the Global VET Agenda project, like the Global VET Data Report, to be developed by OECD, will make a welcome contribution to fill the data gaps we have today. Delivering on skills policy together in strong partnerships is a perspective which has been characterizing our work. And thus, I'm glad to see today the launch of another project which really embraces this way of working. And I'm particularly glad to be in a room where we share our enthusiasm and commitment to VET today and in the coming years. And indeed, if we want a just, competitive and sustainable world, we must make skills our common currency. And the European Union, I think, stands ready to share its experience and to learn from others, because together we can make vocational excellence a truly global ambition. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Geleng, for this overview of ongoing processes at the EU and policy developments, and also for establishing the connections to our global initiative. Finally, let's move to the highlight of the day, the launch of the initiative towards a global TVET agenda. I'm pleased to invite Ms. Catrin Hannken to the stage. She's Deputy Director General at the German Federal Ministry of Research, Technology and Space, and has accompanied and supported the BILD project and UNESCO-UNEVOC since the early stages of the project already. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, dear friends of VET, dear ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor and a privilege to speak to you this morning, and it's maybe a little bit confusion that I'm here for the Ministry of Research and Space, but it's the last week I'm in the Ministry of Research and Space, and next week me and my colleagues Niels and Oliver, we will be in the Ministry of Education and Family Affairs and Senior Citizen and Women and Youth. So it's a long title, but we have there the same responsibilities like before. We are in charge for vocational education. So I'm very glad to speak to you today. And special thanks goes to UNESCO for setting the stage, describing with such clarity and urgency the global challenges facing vocational education and training worldwide. And thanks also to the EU Commission for outlining the upcoming VET strategy, which follows up the VET recommendation of 2020. So since 2020, the global scenario has changed. Digitalization is advancing, AI is changing the world of work and has an impact on society. Decarbonization is becoming more of a focus, and at least the geopolitical security situation is tense. In 2025, we are facing a new era of uncertainty, which demands even stronger commitment to international cooperation. Global disruptions also call for coordinated leadership in technical and vocational education and training. Germany stands firmly rooted in its multilateral approach to global politics. Here, TVET is not a side note, but it's the heart of the future readiness of our societies and especially relevant to our young people concerns. During the Lyon WorldSkills competition of 2024, many of us already pledged we will put TVET strategies for sustainable, inclusive and future-ready economies on the top of the global agenda. Let me briefly reflect on our own situation in Germany. We are traditionally strong in dual training and remain the biggest TVET system in Europe. In 2024, demand for apprenticeship grew slightly, with 520,000 young people asking for training. But we are not immune to challenges. Mismatches between supply and demand are there and growing, with over 30,000 young people left without a training place. The training places offered don't match what young people want, or where they live, or what they can do. And another challenge is that around 2.9 million young adults between the age of 20 and 34, that is almost every fifth young person in Germany, have a lack of formal qualifications. And a recent youth survey shows that 1 in 4 students with lower school qualifications plans to start working after school without getting a training qualification first. This shows we are losing young people between school and work. These are structural warning signals, and they tell us we need to evolve and adapt to solve this, together with others facing similar challenges. European VET policy, like mentioned, Osnabrück and Hannken, acknowledge the important role of VET to develop and sustain competitiveness. Competitiveness means mastering the twin transition, the digital and the green transitions, and being innovating by skilling, reskilling, and upskilling our workforce. TVET plays a key role here. The European Commission's Union of Skills framework recognized TVET's importance, especially for mid-level qualifications and shortage occupations. We support this direction. The Union of Skills emphasizes reskilling and upskilling, lifelong learning, flexible learning pathways. That's right. However, we must not let the focus on skills overshadow the importance of structures, recognized qualifications. In my view, skills credentials and micro-credentials cannot replace the stability and social recognition of formal vocational diplomas. Germany is keen to contribute its experience with a dual system to the process of a new European VET strategy. It is also important to us that a strong employer and social partner involvement in curricular development and quality assurance supporting the attractiveness of VET. Building VET networks such as centers of vocational excellence help us to support VET modernization, entrepreneurship, and innovation. It is obvious in Europe and beyond, TVET skills and qualifications are the currency of the future. Together with our international partners, we are committed to ensuring that this currency holds real value. By building on trusted networks and strong partnerships, we are ready to take on this challenge on a global level. This is why the Ministry of Education launches an initiative towards a global TVET agenda today. This is an initiative of co-creation and innovation, fed by our single and joint experience. This is an open initiative, a collaborative action space for countries that want to strengthen their TVET system, and for the multilateral organization that supports them. Our core partners, UNESCO-UNEVOC, ILO, OECD, ETF, and WorldSkills bring different strengths. Together, we move beyond analysis to implementation. 4 concrete priorities will be tackled. Define and build global standards for TVET excellence amongst policymakers. The question of TVET excellence has concerned us for years. Let's work on a consensus and take the experience of the European Center of Excellence, but also global networks like UNEVOC on board. Create usable data for policymakers. TVET systems are often opaque. We need comparable data. What qualifications lead to employment? What skills will be needed in the future? How can we attract young people for good education? What are the costs? How long does good trainings take? This isn't academic. It's for governments to make better decisions. We will build a shared database. Strengthen social partnership and work-based learning and practice. We don't just talk about employer engagement or quality apprenticeship. We support concrete training offers for decision makers and social partners. BIBB advises on the design and involve German social partners. Create platforms for real knowledge exchange, not conferences for speeches, but structured exchange, peer learning between TVET leaders, shared tools, resources, and collaboration. What is it Germany can contribute to the global agenda? First, expertise in dual VET and company-based training, not theory, but proven practice and robust data. Second, a working model of social partnership. How do you get employers and unions to collaborate? We can share that. And third, research infrastructure and evidence. We measure what we do in TVET. We know which qualifications lead to jobs. We know the costs, we know the time frames. That's not glamorous, but it's what policy makers need. Why does this matter? Innovation through international networks makes TVET strong, not only in theory, but in practice. Through our initiatives, we prove that TVET education systems around the world are not seconds best. It's a distinct pathway with aspiration and value, with direct impact on jobs, our economy, and on people's life. So in closely, let me emphasize, our collaboration demonstrates the power of multilateralism in TVET, an approach we need now more than ever. Today's conference is an invitation. We invite partners around the world to join us, to co-create a future of resilient, inclusive, and dynamic TVET systems. Let us work together to give TVET the strategic attention, investment, and innovation it urgently needs. Let us work together towards a global TVET agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hannken, for providing more context and reasoning behind the initiative. So after this overview, I have the pleasure to invite the partners to the stage for a short reaction and statement on the initiative from their end. I remind you, you have maximum 3 minutes each. And let's start with Ashwani Aggarwal. He is Global Work Group Leader at the International Labour Organization, ILO.
Guten Morgen, bonjour, good morning, everyone. On behalf of the ILO, I express my gratitude to the government of Germany and UNESCO-UNEVOC for inviting to this conference and also being part of this initiative. Thank you very much. We have listened in-depth issues and analysis from 3 eminent speakers in the morning. I'll not go into that details because they have already mentioned most of the points. I will startly, based on the focus of what ILO's component is going to be in this initiative, I like to have slightly, a real example from some countries to say why this initiative is important. Context. I had a privilege of supporting and working with more than 60 countries, and recently I was honored that Africa Union Commission invited me to be the pen holder for their African regional strategy on a TVET. So I'm grateful to them. So let me, across these countries, what I found is that quite common challenges, which are persisting since decades. It is like a up and downs, like a curve. You make more investments, reform, it slightly increases for a few years, then again situation comes back. I think that's what we need, introspection. I'll give an example. I've named the country, but it seems situations exist in many countries. So once I was there, I asked, can you take me to a training center? They took me to a heart of the city, a training center, which was established long back with the World Bank assistance. And what we saw there was no equipment, or whatever little equipment was there, it was non-functional. But still, students was getting, completing examinations, passing, and getting certificates also, without any practical training taking place also in the TVET system. You can understand. And this situation exists in many countries. Then I asked them, okay, can you take me some, because they had privilege of many donors and the development partners and banks giving a lot of loans to invest more, to take to a better, well-equipped center. They took me very proudly, which was a really nice building, well-equipped equipment. They took me to the computer lab for IT trade. So when I have more tendency, I checked into the specifications. I got under the table, checked the specifications of the computers and everything. So I could already see these are already 3 years old. And why it is 3 years old? Because the procurement cycle, installation, everything, by the time they started the process, it took 3 years for the computers to come and install functioning. And then naturally, as we know, computers will get outdated in 4 years' time. You can still, for training purpose, you can stretch for another 2 years. And then they very proudly said, we are having a batch of 20 students undergoing this training. I asked, okay, can you calculate how much is the cost per trainee will be there? And in few years' time, you need to reinvest. Will you have money? They said no. So I said, compare with the private sector. If a private player is going to do this thing, they will run multiple shifts. They will combine long-term and short-term training so that maximum number of persons train, benefit, and recover the cost also. But this is not a situation in that country. It's a situation in public institutions all over the world. Many, I'm not saying everywhere. And also we have seen a lot of investments goes through donors, development banks, and government-owned reforms are carried out. But what happens in the result? Many things are seen. By that end, even 5 years project is finished, the situation slightly comes back to the same situation. They train a lot of trainers, some of good leave for the industry, or they do not have electricity, or they do not have raw materials, or they buy the wrong equipment, or substandard equipment. Situation doesn't change much. So I think what we need to introspect also, I think the next session will go more in details. So I'm saying this particular initiative is very timely. I think we have to go deeper into the issues, why this is happening, and what do we need new initiatives or new approaches to skills development, which so that countries can have sustainable, inclusive system and not just depend on the donors and development partners all the time. In this regard, I think this initiative is very timely, and on behalf of the ILO, we like to sincerely express our gratitude to all the ministry officials who thought of this initiative, came up with this initiative, and to the German government who very generously supporting it, bringing, and more importantly, this is an initiative where they are bringing collective wisdom of 4 important development partners, international organizations, and also thanks to all those partners, because it will be a very good opportunity to work together, complement our expertise and stand together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ashwani. Next on stage is Ms. Elisa Mohamedou, head of the OECD Center for Skills, Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development.
Good morning, everyone. Finally, we're here. It's really a great pleasure to join you for the launch of the Towards a Global VET Agenda initiative. On behalf of the OECD, I would like to thank UNESCO-UNEVOC and our partners at the ILO, ETF, the European Commission, and BIBB, and above all, the German Federal Ministry, I'm not going to say which one, for their leadership and vision in bringing us together around this shared ambition. This initiative recognizes something essential, that TVET is not just a policy area, but a cornerstone of economic opportunity, inclusion, and innovation. But globally, TVET remains underrepresented in policy discussions and crucially in the data that we use to guide decisions. Many countries lack comprehensive and comparable international data on vocational education, participation, completion, and transition to employment, which makes it really hard to benchmark performance and target investments effectively. Even within the European Union, data on key aspects of VET remain uneven. For instance, recent data show that no information was available for Bulgaria, Croatia, Latvia, and Poland on the share of VET graduates exposed to work-based learning and participation rates. Moreover, as OECD analysis highlights, many countries cannot count apprenticeships in a comparable way, because definitions and data collection differ significantly across systems. Without this evidence, it becomes difficult to understand where systems are performing well, where young people or adults are being left behind, and where investment can make the greatest impact. At the OECD, we're addressing this through the Global VET Data Report, which will provide the first comprehensive international reference on the state of VET data. It will help make VET visible, mapping existing information, identifying data gaps, and working with countries to strengthen measurement and comparability, and builds on other initiatives around data generation, such as PISA-VET. This will directly contribute to the broader global VET agenda goal of building shared evidence to guide excellence and innovation, as the Deputy Director mentioned. Our second contribution towards a skills strategy for Latin America responds to another pressing need. Across the region, nearly half of firms report difficulties finding workers with the right skills. For instance, almost 60% in Argentina, 50% in Colombia and Peru, while adult skills assessments show that countries such as Chile, Ecuador, Mexico, and Peru perform below most other OECD participating economies in literacy and numeracy. At the same time, around 1 in 5 young people are not in employment, education, or training. Participation in vocational education also remains far below OECD averages. A lot of these challenges are common in the region and would benefit from a regional approach, working with governments and stakeholders to help countries move from strategy to action, developing skill systems that are more coherent, inclusive, and responsive to labor market needs. Together, these projects complement the broader efforts of our partners, UNESCO-UNEVOC leadership in global knowledge sharing, the ILO focus on strengthening capacity and social dialogue, and ETF's work on excellence and innovation across regions, WorldSkills for their work in leveling up the TVET image around the world, as well as the European Commission fostering regional cooperation to strengthen VET systems, response to EU labor market needs, and the upcoming VET strategy that the director just mentioned. Our shared purpose is clear: to make VET more visible, more valued, and more connected globally. This is the collective spirit that underpins the global VET agenda: partnership, evidence, and action. The OECD is proud to contribute to this common endeavor, and we look forward to working with all of you and bringing in more countries to join this initiative to turn this vision into tangible progress for learners and workers everywhere. You can count on our commitment to provide you with our full support throughout this important initiative. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I would like to ask Georgios Zisimos, Head of Policy Advice and EU Programming Unit at the European Training Foundation, ETF.
Thank you, Natalie. Good morning. Let me start by thanking UNESCO-UNEVOC for setting up this great platform for discussion, cooperation, and to launch, of course, this important initiative. Let me use my note to remember the full name of the ministry, to thank exactly the General Federal Ministry for Education, Family Affairs, Senior Citizens, Women, and Youth for being behind this great initiative. Let me also thank the partners, ILO, OECD, BIBB, WorldSkills, and of course our own family, European Commission. This is a great partnership, a partnership above all, and we're very committed and looking forward to be part of it and work towards a global VET agenda. We're happy to be here, and on behalf of ETF, the European Training Foundation, let me say that we're ready to do our part and work in full cooperation to deliver what is meant to deliver. And I'm sure that by the end of this first part of the process, we will find out that there is even more to come, and we're looking forward for that evolution as well. I think today we're discussing about the globality of things, the globality of TVET, and in our language we say internationalization of TVET. And of course internationalization is based on a logic that is a two-way process, where you give and where you take. It was not always like that. It was more to take in the years before. So it's to give and take, and that sort of cooperation is important. You need policies for that. And we prefer to talk about internationalization in policies, right, rather than internationalization of policies. Internationalization of policies often refers to an added part to make it look international, whereas internationalization in policies means that internationalization is from the very beginning to help develop the policy, to help develop the strategies that come with it. So in this sort of logic that ETF, an EU agency with the mandate to work beyond the EU, is very much embedded in our work, we have identified seven elements that could help make those that internationalization in policies possible for TVET. The first one, and it was mentioned by previous speakers, is the element of tools, perhaps common tools. Programs like Erasmus+, it was mentioned earlier on, with a huge international dimension. Standards, perhaps, frameworks, policies. So that is very, very important to develop those together in partnership. The second element is the element of data and intelligence. And it was mentioned earlier on, the initiative under the Union of Skills, for example, for the Skills Observatory. And of course, one would think that is, when you talk about data, that doesn't have a border, and you need to be, of course, be global from the very, very beginning. So that again is very important, and the work of OECD in that respect would be a great added value to this agenda. The question of flexibility and fragility. We believe that this is very important. Many countries, they face today fragile conditions, fragile situation that has an impact on policies. It has an impact on policies that develop human capital development, on policies on VET as well. We need to take that into account when we're looking at this global perspective. The question of good models, and previous speakers spoke about the centers of vocational excellence. These are skills ecosystems, and one could say that they are the evolution of TVET. It's important to bring those forward, and our main contribution to this global VET agenda, of course, is to work within the excellence partnership to help bring forward this dimension of centers of vocational excellence. Financing and governing structures. This is fundamental to help the policies become international, and at the same time to forge this partnership between international partners. The cooperation with international financial institutions, for example, it's key in that respect. The European Training Foundation works closely with financial institutions, European Investment Bank, EBRD, Asian Development Bank, Africa Development Bank, and so on. The sixth point is strategies. And it was mentioned by Borhene earlier on that different organizations, different countries nowadays, they develop their own strategies for the future. ETF is actually working for its own strategy beyond 2027 until 2034. I think it's important those strategies, that there's a plethora of those nowadays, to have common denominator, to speak to each other, and the global VET agenda has perhaps that role to unite those strategies. And the last one, and perhaps the most obvious one in this international debate, is the partnerships. And we see this initiative as a great platform for partnerships, for further cooperation, partnerships that they create win-win situations in order for all to benefit from it. So with these thoughts, let me thank you again for this opportunity to be here. Let me express gratitude to all the partners in this initiative, and we are committed to contribute. Thank you.
Thank you, Georgios. I now have the pleasure to invite Ms. Laurence Gates to the stage. She is the CEO of WorldSkills Europe. Please, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. And let me start by thanking you all for inviting WorldSkills to be part of the launch of this very important initiative, and also for considering WorldSkills in this important step for the future of skills development. At WorldSkills, we believe that skills are fundamental to sustainable human development. Our goal is to support better quality systems that close skills gap and create more opportunities for our young people. We aim to be a platform for collaboration and cooperation, raising global skill standards and improving access to high-quality technical and vocational education and training. This is why it's so important for us to be here today, together with key partners as well from our WorldSkills Conference Coalition, Just 2 weeks ago, some of you joined us in Dubrovnik for the WorldSkills Croatia Conference 2025, a pivotal side event of our General Assembly. And only last week, the entire coalition, along with WorldSkills China, who will organize our next competition in Shanghai, were welcomed by the OECD in Paris to shape the topics that will be addressed at the WorldSkills Conference 2026 in Shanghai. Many of the organizations represented here today were part of those discussions. So again, we're fully aligned. 2025 has been a momentous year for WorldSkills, not only because we are celebrating 75 years as the global stage for skills, but also because we have been reimagining our future. Over the past year, we have been working and looking at our mission and developing the WorldSkills Vision 2035, our vision of what WorldSkills can achieve in the decade ahead. We've also reflected deeply on how the WorldSkills Conference should evolve. Last year in France marked a turning point for our conference. Under the title you will recognize, Moving TVET to the Top of the Global Agenda. It brought together over 1,000 participants, including more than 30 ministers and government representatives, alongside leaders from business, education, industry, as well as young people. Together, they explored pressing issues that were mentioned this morning: gender equity, artificial intelligence, foundational skills, fragile economies, and skills for the green transition. We want to build on that success. Over the next 10 years, our goal is to elevate the WorldSkills Conference into a globally recognized platform for skills leadership and strategic development, a unifying space for ministers, industry, educators, practitioners, and youth to drive TVET transformation. We want to be a platform that delivers tangible outcomes and influences policymakers. Next year, at the WorldSkills Shanghai Competition 2026, we will have the WorldSkills Conference 2026. We will unite under the theme, Shaping a Skills-Driven Future. We believe it will be the right arena and the right ecosystem to advance the global TVET agenda, and we very much look forward to its inclusion into the program. And we hope that we can work together with you to achieve that. At WorldSkills, we do not have Shakira, we do not have influencers, but we have an army of young people that can testify to the power of TVET to change lives. So we are proud as WorldSkills to offer our global platform and our young people as our champions to you to ensure that skills have the place they deserve in the world's future. So we look forward to working with you towards that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Finally, I have the pleasure to have Ms. Birgit Thomann with us. She is the head of VET International at the Federal Institute for Vocational Education and Training of Germany.
Distinguished guests, dear partners, dear colleagues, it's really my great pleasure to complete this round of short interventions by just some remarks on the contribution of the BIBB. So as a national Center of Competence for Vocational Education and Training, we are really keen and we are committed to support this multilateral collaboration through the initiative towards a global TVET agenda. So of course we will do this on behalf of the Ministry of Education, I just keep it short, in coordinating this piloting phase of the initiative, but we also like to add our expertise and our international network of cooperation partners. So we provide our expertise regarding research and development, regarding the process of developing national standard, the transfer into practice and programs to support the advancement of TVET in Germany and also in the worldwide perspective. So we promote high quality, inclusive and sustainable TVET, underpinned by the principles of dual VET, of work-based learning, and leading to occupational proficiency. That is what we call, and we combine in this respect knowledge, skills, and attitudes on levels of vocational competences, social competences, and personal competences. And we also like to support by our international partner network. So on a multilateral level, first of all, it's the UNESCO-UNEVOC network. We are member in this network since 1994, and we are a very active part in this network, I would say. Just recently, we supported and we cooperated in the BILD project. And of course, I'd also like to mention ILO Sinterfor. So in this respect, we supported and we worked together in the promotion of work-based learning in the Alliance for Dual VET in Latin America and in the Caribbean. And, of course, in the European level, our partners ETF and CDFOP, we work together and cooperate on skills, anticipation, qualification frameworks, and quality assurance. And maybe also just to name, because I think the time is really proceeding, just some bilateral partners here also in Berlin and in the room. So there is TESTA in the Philippines, there's CRIVET in South Korea, focusing also on research and facing also same challenges as aging societies. And there is SENAI also in Brazil. So together we work and we share the conviction that TVET policy making, which is based on evidence and international dialogue, makes TVET systems stronger and more resistant. And now we embark on this global TVET agenda, and we are looking forward to also to deepen these partnerships and to develop a common vision. And this vision should guide us in our collaboration and also in setting up a global VET agenda. So let me thank you, the partners, the UNESCO, the ILO, OECD and ETF, as well as WorldSkills, but also my special thanks to the Ministry of Education. Without your commitment and without your funding, the journey would not have been possible. So it's my great pleasure now to invite all of us to join for the official unveiling of the Towards a Global TVET Agenda visual. And I hand over to Natalie to guide us now in the unveiling of the vision.
Katharina will also support us. So I call on stage now Borhene to please join us, Friedrich as well. And then, of course, Ashwani, Elisa, Georgios, please come on stage. And Miss Hannken.